Hi, welcome to Echoes from the Satellite. I'm Karen, and I got back from the Scottsdale Comic Book Show, which is apparently affectionately also known as the Old Man Con. And so this is held at the Scottsdale Plaza Resort, which is a pretty nice place here in the Phoenix area in Scottsdale. And this was a one-day show. So they had a ballroom with wall-to-wall dealers, a lot of folks, good turnout for just a one-day show. And however, I wasn't interested in getting any more comics. I have tons of comics. I don't need any more comics. What I was interested in was a very niche area. I wanted to get some 1970s Marvel sci-fi related magazines. And so I went in there with that intent and didn't do too badly. There were maybe four dealers that had magazines, and three of them did have some of the things I was looking for. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you the covers of the magazines I got, and then we will do a dive into the magazines so you can see what was in them. Now, the first magazine I have to show you here is Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction #1. This is one of the, I really wanted to find more Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction. Unfortunately, the only dealer that had any of these, all he had was #1s. So you could get them in a variety of conditions. And if you wanted really great mint condition, you're going to be paying like $100. So I was happy to get something in a just reader's condition, probably like a very good. So this is a magazine I was really looking for and hoping to find more of, but this is what I got. So we'll be looking at this. Now the next magazine up here, Planet of the Apes #6. You know, Marvel was putting out Planet of the Apes in the 70s. They were covering both the films, but they also had an original story going in it. I was pretty excited to get a hold of this. Unfortunately, didn't have more of these, at least of the really early run. But we'll take a look inside of that. Next one is pretty neat. Marvel Preview, Man Gods from the Stars. This is a really nice Neil Adams cover here. Pretty nice work by Neil Adams on this. Pretty unique book. And then the final one I got was not Marvel at all, but I wanted to pick this up because it's something I had been looking for years. So Amazing World of DC Comics. This was DC's sort of answer to Foom, and it's all about the Legion of Superheroes. So with that, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and take a look inside each of those magazines. Okay, so let's take a peek in some of these magazines. We got this nice Kelly Frias cover to Unknown Worlds #1, and a little interior art here as well. Looks like maybe that's by, well, sure, I can't read that signature. We do have an editorial by Roy Thomas here. And I think it's interesting. He talks about how maybe now it's time for science fiction since we've had Star Trek, Planet of the Apes, Soylent Green, Dune, Stranger in a Strange Land, and even the $6 Million Man. Kind of interesting selection. And then he mentions one of the stories in this issue, which is Smash Gordon. He says, a word about that last one. We published it mainly because we think it makes a point about the kind of SF we don't intend to carry. We think the straight space opera has rather run its course. Well, of course, this was a couple of years before Star Wars came out. So yeah, hard to predict the future, I guess. Now, the first story in this issue is actually a framing device for the rest of the issue. And it's by Tony Isabella and Gene Colan and Tom Palmer. Of course, that duo would do a lot of artwork for Doctor Strange. And they use this story device called slow glass, which sort of allows people to see things that are happening in these these pieces of sort of this dark mirror. And that leads us into the first story of the issue, which is an adaptation of the Triffids, Day of the Triffids, by Jerry Conway and Ross Andrew and Ernie Chua. I have to say, you know, Ross Andrew probably doesn't get his due as an artist. I really knew him from his own work, but pretty spectacular artwork in that first page here. And yeah, some nice, really nice, nice artwork from those two adapting this story. And apparently, this story would continue into the next issue. So nice long adaptation of that novel from John Wyndham. And we get a great house ad for Planet of the Apes right there. And then next we move into a Neil Adams story. And you can see he's using a lot of different techniques here in his artwork. There's some photography and other stuff going on. And I haven't, you know, I got these books, just got them and haven't really read them. So I can't really say much about the stories yet. So, and another very cool house ad, those monster masks. Boy, I always wanted to get those masks, but never did. I don't know if some of you got those masks. You'll have to tell me if they were as cool as they looked. And here's an interview with Ray Bradbury. Definitely looking forward to reading this. Looks like it was by Shel Dorf, and I seem to recall Shel Dorf being involved with the early San Diego Comic Cons. Somebody has any thoughts on that? I'd love to hear about that. Some more photos of Mr. Bradbury. Sometimes I wonder if these old legendary sci-fi writers are starting to be forgotten. I don't know. But Bradbury, I think, with some of his stories like Fahrenheit 451, I think will always be in the conversation. Another great house ad for the Marvel magazines. Who's that? Alfredo Acala. Some great, crazy stuff going on there. And here we have the Smash Gordon story by Frank Brunner. Some really beautiful artwork by Brunner. It's another Doctor Strange artist. Did other stuff for Marvel. So some really interesting artwork here. Another house ad. I did have some of those Planet of the Apes model kits, so those were fantastic. Okay, this is Wally Wood and Al Williamson. Of course, this is giving off some Flash Gordon vibes right here with Williamson. Classic style. I mean, come on. It looks like Flash Gordon. I have to really check this one out. More Marvel ads here. And we get an interview with the artist Kelly Frias. And if you've looked at any science fiction paperbacks or magazines, you've probably seen his artwork. Like he did the cover to this magazine. So nice little interview there. Another story with by Mike Kaluta. So we get a nice mix of art styles in this first magazine. So that's kind of neat. Kaluta always did some neat things with light and shadow. Nice artwork on the face there. We're back to our framing sequence with the slow glass. Looks like we're coming to the end of the magazine here. And so then we have a story, looks like an original story maybe by Tony Isabella, Gene Colan, and Mike Esposito. And let's see where this takes us. Okay, we've got some more of the Bradbury interview. Pretty long interview there. Picture from the film of Fahrenheit 451. more of the Kelly Frias interview, and then what's coming next issue. Looks like we got some Harlan Ellison, conclusion of the Triffids story, Alfred Bester. So yeah, pretty nice first issue all around. Okay, now we got the Planet of the Apes magazine. This is number 6, issue number 6. Beautiful Bob Larkin cover. Man, these covers, whenever I saw those in the store, I was really wanting to buy them, but they were $1 back then. And you could get 4 comics for $1. We got a nice shot here of, I'm going to say that's Urko, the TV show. Could be Ursus, but I think it's Urko. Okay, letters page. We start with the letters page. I recognize the name Mark Evanier. Interesting. Have to check this out. It's a little more intensity. We got our editorial. And then we've got the original series that I believe was by Doug Minch and Mike Plug. You recognize that Mike Plug artwork anywhere. Yeah, and this is great stuff. If you haven't read this series, like I said before, you got to get a hold of it. They were so original and did so many things that were just kind of goofy, but so much fun. Like in this issue, you see got like a gypsy fortune teller ape here. They've got, people going on rafts down a river, and they had all kinds of just crazy stuff going on in this long continuing story. They let their imaginations run wild, and it was cool. It was great. Yeah, we got a long interview with Mark Leonard. So is Urko. Boy, it had to be hot wearing that outfit and being outside all the time, riding on a horse and stuff. Had to be miserable. But he was a great villain on that show. Very distinct from Ursus, but still a great character. Lots of great pictures. And this is what's missing from those Boom collections. You don't get any of these interviews or pictures. So Stan, Uncle Stan. Bye, kids. Buy all the magazines. And then we get to see how it was to get the makeup put on, what that experience was like. And then we're back to the adaptation of the first film, which was also written by Doug Minch, but had art by George Tuska and Mike Esposito. And you can see that they did not really try to, or maybe they didn't have the rights to the likenesses of, well, Apes is one thing, but Charlton Heston definitely, this does not look like Charlton Heston. So you wonder if maybe they just didn't have permission to use his likeness. But it actually is very straightforward, really follows along with the movie. It's kind of fun to see it in a comic book format, So damn ugly. Now, I will say, though, that the scene with the Statue of Liberty in this is quite different than in the film. And, all right, get ready for it. You fools. Here we are. Yeah, I don't think it has the same effect. I don't like the rusted out Statue of Liberty standing up, towering over Taylor. I don't really think it's quite the same to have the statue laying on the ground, but hey, it's different. And we got an ad for next issue. More ads, even more ads, more ads. That's it, kids. It's just ads in the back. So yeah, this mag has a couple of stories, a couple of articles, and that's it. Let's move on to our next one. Okay, next up, we have Marvel Preview #1, Man Gods from Beyond the Stars. I got to tell you, when I saw this ad in the comics as a kid, boy, I wanted this. I was growing up at that time. You know, it seemed like every week we would hear a new story about like UFOs, or we had In Search Of on the TV, and hearing about chariots of the gods and ancient astronauts. So this was like right up my alley. I was super excited, and I never saw this thing. I never saw this magazine in the stores, and so it's kind of a little thrilled to get it now. Not as big as thrill as it would have been to have gotten it as a kid, but what the heck. Um, so you can see they are like going full blown Eric von Däniken, you know, ancient astronaut. And I find it really interesting. It says here, with special thanks to Sun International Productions for their cooperation. Sun International, for those of you who are too young or just didn't know about this stuff, Sun International cranked out a lot of movies in the 70s about this kind of stuff, UFOs, even Bigfoot, I think. So yeah, it's interesting that they got some sort of help from them. So yeah, we can see exactly what we're getting in this magazine. So the first part of the magazine is a story by, again, Doug Mensch. That guy was writing a lot of magazines for Marvel. And the art's by Alex Nino. And I know Alex Nino, my gosh, look at this spread here. This is just gorgeous. I'm pretty sure, well, I'm not going to say I'm pretty sure, but I know he was doing a lot of magazine work. I seem to recall him maybe doing some Conan at the time. I'm sure somebody out there will correct me, but this is just really beautiful line work um, in this story. So yeah, looking forward to reading this. Like, boy, these magazines, it's gonna pull me away from the book I'm reading right now, but totally worth it to sit down with these mags and read the stories in them. And look at the storytelling. It's just fantastic. So I'm really thrilled I was able to pick this up um, at the Old Man Con. Yeah, fantastic stuff here. Really great stuff. And I think there is maybe one other story in here. Like I said, just kind of flipped through these briefly before I jumped on to show them to you guys. Wow, that's nice. That's really nice. And then we get an article on Eric von Däniken, the man who popularized the ancient astronaut theory in the Moai at Easter Island. Oh, and all sorts of stuff. Okay, so this will be very informative reading, I'm sure. Yeah, nice stuff here. Oh boy. Yeah, Ancient Spaceman. Check it out. It's all true. Okay, so yeah, this is great stuff. Oh, the books of the gods. So and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I might even have one of these books or two. And then we have another story. Oh my gosh. Okay, by Marv Wolfman and Dave Cockrum. Look at that beautiful Dave Cockrum work. And the Crusty Bunkers. Okay, I believe the Crusty Bunkers, they would show up doing inking, usually, maybe some penciling. And these were, I think, people in Neil Adams' studio. Again, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but that is kind of what I remember. Oh, this is just classic Cockrum artwork. Beautiful stuff. I love Dave Cockrum's work. He was just such a great designer of costumes and creatures, but also a wonderful storyteller. Yeah, this is sweet. Oh, boy, I'm gonna love sitting down and reading this. Look at that. Just crazy, crazy cool stuff. Look at this monster here. Wow, that is fantastic. I shouldn't say monster, it's an alien. Let's not judge them. And then what else do we have in this issue? continuation of the articles. Then let's see. Oh, get a subscription, kids. And this magazine actually went on for a while. Because I remember, oh yeah, Punisher, but I remember Star-Lord was also introduced in this. There was a really popular issue of this that had the X-Men in it. So this one went on a while, whereas like Unknown Worlds only lasted, I think, 6 issues, and then they had maybe one more issue. Again, you got to listen to my friend Billy's podcast, Magazines and Monsters, because he just did an excellent job with his guest, Derek Conexon. Oh, sorry, I should have looked it up, but like I said, I just rushed back from Old Man Con. And they did a great job looking at all of those unknown worlds. All right, we got one more to go. Okay. Now this last one, well, you might call foul. You might say, ah, that's not really science fiction, but the Legion is science fiction. It's superhero science fiction. Now I'm going to say the inside of this is not nearly as exciting as the other ones because it's very text heavy. Um, and there's also a weird kind of blue um, line that goes through it, a smear or something that goes through it. I don't know if this was, feels like maybe it's a leak, moisture, something might have happened. Um, doesn't prevent reading, so I'm okay with it. So yeah, we've got the appearances of the Legion, and then it's very text heavy, like I said. So it talks about the clubhouse, equipment, policies, and then it lists each Legionnaire and some information about them. And there's some artwork here you can see. So yeah, this one not quite as exciting to look at, but maybe kind of fun to read. Got some letters pages here, some advertising. Ooh, Super DC Con in '76. Anybody go to that? Then, hey, upcoming DC Comics. Hey, the Spider-Man versus Superman book. That was cool. Nice. That Dave Cockrum, I think, was it Dave Cockrum or maybe, no, this Mike Grell. Anyway, big spread. I'm tired. I can't tell what's what anymore. But kind of fun to look back and see all these old covers, what was coming out at the time. And I never really got Amazing World of DC Heroes. I think this was, I mean, this was sort of their boom, although honestly, it's on much better paper than Foom was. Some more illustrations, more info, some covers. Another Superboy cover, and certainly that for this one. Nice little assortment of covers on that. And then some character designs from back in the day. And that's what we've got with that. And that wraps up those four mags that I purchased. Well, I hope you enjoyed looking inside those different magazines. Yeah, I'll be spending some time reading those and, maybe going out and getting some more. I got some information from some of the dealers. Some were local. There were some folks from out of state as well. But I may spend some more time looking into some of those magazines, especially Unknown Worlds of Science Fiction. So we might spend some more time looking at those. But I want to thank everybody for watching, and I appreciate the support, the subscribers, and the comments. That's great. And have a great rest of your day, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you again real soon. Thanks.